What else did the Mavericks need to do before the NBA trade deadline ends? Plus, our national NBA insider Mark Stein will join us on our NBA trade deadline special here on DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks beat writer Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Krella. We are, of course, DLLS Mavs. We appreciate you joining us here on our NBA trade deadline special. As we are just moments away from the NBA trade deadline ending, we will see what the Mavericks will continue to possibly do ahead of the end of the deadline. We are live here on DLLS Sports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to us while you're here as well. You can download our podcast wherever you get your podcasts for free. Mavericks will be taking on the Boston Celtics a little bit later on tonight as well. Our pregame show will begin at 6 p.m. as we will be also live at Cosm tonight at 6:30 to have our very first live watch.
We won't
party.
be live. We'll be there.
We will be there.
We will not be live.
We will be there, of course, to hang out with you as we watch the Mavericks take on the Celtics. But, gentlemen, the NBA trade deadline is a mere 27 minutes away from ending. The Mavericks, of course, making the biggest trade of all, moving on from Luka Doncic and acquiring Anthony Davis from the Los Angeles Lakers along with Max Christie as well. But, gentlemen, let's get to it. What else do the Mavericks need to do as we are counting down the final 27 minutes to the end of the NBA trade deadline that you would like to see? We'll have an update on a trade that the Mavericks have already made a couple of days ago as well, but what do we want to see them do before the deadline ends here?
Well, I'm not trying to jump ahead, but actually what I really thought this roster was missing was a 2030 second-round pick.
Sure.
So already off to a great start.
Stock in the cupboard.
Yeah.
I think the Mavs need to add some offense, whether that's in the form of a guy that can set the table or make an entry pass, now that they just seem dedicated to posting up. You need a guy that can get those guys the ball, or you need a guy that can go create a shot for himself. So I need a shot creator for himself or for others, ideally for both. The Mavs had one that could do both, and they decided they didn't want him anymore, so I doubt that they're going to target a player that's like Luka along that archetype. But they do need somebody that can do something with the ball, because right now their offense is very, very one-dimensional and runs the risk of becoming very stagnant. So I think they need a little juice on offense.
You know what's funny? And
It better be funny.
this is a consistent bit from them, huh?
It is. It very much is. That's right.
Okay, you know what's interesting, and I hate to already bring us back to relitigation of Luka, and this isn't really meant to be relitigation. Austin Reeves kind of could have been. Like, when I think of scoring guard that you could kind of, almost plays like a Luka style, there's not a lot of players like that in the league, though. Then obviously there's a reason he has value. Like, I think Max Christie makes more sense for Dallas, but man, just one more weird combo scoring guard with some on and off ball chops would be ideal. But I think every team in the league love a player like that.
I feel like those guys. There are a lot of those guys, though, right?
Yeah.
Because right now the Mavs starting lineup is, when they're healthy. I mean, I'm about to say some violent stuff, but their starting lineup is probably Kyrie, Clay, PJ, AD, Gafford, and then Lively whenever Lively comes back. If Lively comes back, that's a pretty slow, non-dynamic lineup. And your guards off the bench, as it is right now, are Dinwiddie, Exum, Jaden Hardy, if he's even going to be on the team in 30 minutes. Brandon Williams, I guess. Where's the offense? Najee is not really a shot creator. PJ, not really a shot creator. Dinwiddie, not really a shot creator, and he can even get buckets. So I just need something. I need a guard. I need a combo guard. I need, I'm not saying go get Jordan Clarkson or Malik Monk or that kind of guy, but I do think they need a guy that can at least create something.
I mean, I think Dante Exum's going to be a huge part of this team, but I think we also know from Dante Exum is that there's a bit of unreliability there.
He had a chance to create a shot on the last possession the other night.
That's right. And we know how that all turned out.
That's a tough one. I'm not going overboard on that, but I hear you.
The Mavericks did have one of those guys, but he plays for the Philadelphia 76ers. In fact, he'll be making his debut tonight. Speaking, of course, of Quentin Grimes. An update to that trade from a couple of days ago, coming from our very own Mark Stein as of an hour ago. So Caleb Martin, so let me back up. The Sixers are now sending an additional 2030 second-round pick to Dallas.
There you go. That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Perfect.
That's right.
Perfect.
As an amended aspect of Philadelphia's trade earlier this week to send Caleb Martin to the Mavericks, lead sources tell Mark Stein. Caleb Martin, of course, has been sidelined with a recent hip injury and was said to be nearing a return for the Sixers, but after consultation between both teams and the league office, Philadelphia has agreed to send an additional second-rounder to Dallas, according to Mark Stein. Sources telling Mark as well that the full trade construction finalized today will send Caleb Martin and the 2030 second-rounder to Dallas for Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-rounder back to Philadelphia that the Sixers previously owned and which has been traded
Can I respond real quick to this guy? Samant's group financials in all caps. What are you talking about? What is Kyrie then? Brother, Kyrie is a Hall of Famer. I'm not talking about Kyrie. There are 15 players on a team. You need more than one guy that can create a shot. Turn off your freaking caps bar and join reality. Anyway, back to the show.
So that is the update when it comes to Caleb Martin and Quentin Grimes, which it sounds like if we were to extract, and let me finish up with what Stein had also finished up with as well, is a specific timetable for Caleb Martin's Mavericks debut has not yet been established. League sources say Dallas does not have long-term concerns about the right hip sprain that has sidelined Martin, but a modification to the original trade was sought after the ex-Sixers physical. So that just cleans up that there for you when it comes to the trade that was made earlier this week, which doesn't sound great.
Does that feel like it cleaned it up?
Well, I'm just saying.
That feels like it makes it way messier.
Yeah, no, like trust me, it sounds a lot worse. It sounds a lot worse second by second that this trade will be officially, once it's done. But it doesn't sound like Caleb Martin and that hip injury is good as of right now. Otherwise, Philadelphia wouldn't have felt compelled, I think, to send another second-round pick to Dallas as additional compensation for that trade. So that just gives you a little bit of an update on that trade that has gone down as well. We are sitting just about 20 minutes away from the NBA trade deadline coming to an end a little bit later on.
Cody Zeller and Houston's 2028 second rounder goes to the Rockets.
Okay. That coming in seconds ago from ESPN's Shams Charania.
Why?
Was his contract that bad that you had to attach a second?
I did not even remember that he was in the league.
So
I didn't even know he was in the league.
Do you know what? I don't think I said what team he's on.
I did not know that. No.
Do you know?
You could have given me 30 guesses and I would have
The Atlanta Hawks.
The Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
He has played 0 games this year.
It feels like the Hawks are in sell mode right now because just 18 minutes prior to that,
He makes 3.6 and 3. He makes 3.6 and 3.8 the next 2 years, next 2 seasons. So
okay. The Clippers are trading Terrence Mann and Bones Highland to the Hawks for Bogdan Bogdanovic and 3 second-round picks, according to Shams Charania as well.
Y'all remember when Cody Zeller came off the bench? No, he started a game against the Mavs at the end of the 22-23 season, and he scored 20 points.
I do not remember this.
20 points?
In Miami, yeah. You remember that?
Oh, no, I don't remember that.
That was
Do I want to remember that?
That was a watershed moment. In the,
like, I don't know if do I want to remember that?
Terrence,
sorry, what?
Oh, just I heard you mention Terrence Mann. Terrence Mann, sources have told me over the past week that was a target that Dallas was looking at. I don't know how to what extent the interest got, but definitely someone that Dallas had considered at some point.
Terrence Mann, repped by the same agency that reps Luka.
Who no longer plays?
Those talks probably ended a few days ago, if I had to guess. Yeah. It should be noted the Mavs right now have 14 players under contract, and in addition to the 3 two-way players that they have. So, if they were a moderately healthy team or whatever, that 15th roster spot may or may not really matter all that much. But as it stands right now, there are a lot of guys out. They need someone in that 15th spot, but they cannot go sign a free agent right now, even if a guy's bought out, because they're too close to that first apron, which for them is a hard cap. They cannot exceed the first apron. So in order to sign a 15th player, they're going to have to actually make one guy disappear or trade 1 for 2 or something to fill that 15th spot. So as it is right now, this is the Mavs roster the rest of the season, unless they're able to make at least a financial move in the next 20 minutes.
How much under?
They're like $150,000 or something.
Yeah, that's tough to work with. When it was 600, because of the way that a veteran's contract is prorated, Dallas could have, according to a salary cap expert, I can say I talked to Yossi, our friend of the show, and so the way the math he was doing, because of the way that an NBA contract is prorated, you're not signing a guy to the entirety of the veteran's minimum. You're signing him to 45 days worth. Roundabout, on March 2nd. But it was March 2nd. They would have had to wait till March 2nd, and they would have been in play for the buyout market. Also, because they're under the first apron, they would have been in play for players bought out above the mid-level exception line, which I believe is $12.6 million. If you're above the first apron, which Dallas is not, if you're above the first apron, you cannot sign players on the buyout market if they've been bought out for more than the mid-level exception. Does that all sound right?
Yes, but they couldn't do that anyway because they're hard capped at the first.
Well, they could have when they're 600 under. Because
they could have signed someone. Yeah.
But now they're so far under, like, with the way the pro rating worked, maybe you could sign a guy like the last 2 days of the season.
Yeah, no.
Like that.
But then they wouldn't be able to be on the playoff roster.
Exactly.
So I mean, this is the team they have.
Functionally, they're right now.
Yes.
They're capped out.
But like right now, okay. So Jaden Hardy was very conspicuously a DNP-CD the other night against Philly, which definitely but if the Mavs just make Jaden Hardy disappear, it opens up enough money if they just trade him for air to sign 2 players to minimum deals on the buyout market.
Yeah.
But like, you better know who those guys are going to be. Because if you just make Jaden Hardy disappear, now you're down to 13 players, and you have even less playmaking and less shot creating. And I guess I will go out of my way when I say this. The Mavs have Kyrie Irving. I'm not erasing him, my guy Samantz. I'm not erasing him. He's really good. But they need another player in addition to Kyrie Irving, who's an incredible player and an all-time great player, and I will mention that every time I ever mention him now for the rest of my life.
That's right.
They need more of those guys to help the extremely incredible, perfect player that's already on their team.
And here's what's probably happening right now in the Mavs front office. The Mavs front office is likely doing multiple things at once, multiple things right next to each other. They are, or quite possibly already have, a trade set up to send Hardy out with maybe like the second they just got from Philly. Just send him into a cap space team. If they see the buyout market as a viable place to improve the team, what they're also doing is they both have that trade ready to go, but they're talking to agents of players who are expected to get bought out and being like, hey, would you come to Dallas if you were bought out? And is that 100% above the rules?
Couple notable players
totally
that could be
legal?
bought out: Bruce Brown and Ben Simmons.
Yeah,
just keep those guys. Mavs have been connected to Bruce Brown in the past, and I don't think they've been connected to Ben Simmons, but it feels like we're just making it for you.
They have been connected to Ben Simmons on a website called alldlls.com.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
I would only know if I was a diehard.
Are you a diehard?
You should become a diehard too. I am.
Do you have Can you show me your diehard membership card?
I actually have not gotten a diehard card.
Unbelievable.
We need one of those.
Nico Harrison's imminent desire to move Luka Doncic, and more details from the Mavericks shocking trade. An article on February 4th. Yes,
good website.
Reported in there that I had heard. Now, what I have not heard is if Ben Simmons is going to get bought out. That seems to be, as one agent joked, Ben's agent might have been a little bit too busy tweeting about Jimmy Butler. It's the same agent as Jimmy Butler's agent.
Speaking of the Jimmy Butler deal, Dennis Schroeder is being rerouted to the Detroit Pistons as a part of the Jimmy Butler deal. So Dennis Schroeder headed to Detroit, according to Chris Haynes, as part of that massive Jimmy Butler deal that, of course, commenced last night between the Miami Heat and the Golden State Warriors.
How many teams has he been on the last 24 hours?
I think Amari Sankofa, Amari from the Free Press in Detroit. He might have been first on that.
Okay. So I just saw him from...
No, totally, of course. Yeah. But I just like to give proper credit to beat reporters, especially beat reporters, when they're first on news like this.
So Dennis Schroeder headed to the Detroit Pistons. We are less than 15 minutes away from the end of the NBA trade deadline. A couple of pieces when it comes to our show here. Mark Stein will be joining us around 2:15 here on the DLLS Mavs trade deadline special. So Mark Stein, our national NBA insider, who has been breaking news throughout the course of the day, will be joining us at 2:15. Also, a couple of pieces of Mavericks news ahead of tonight's game. Shout out to the Mavericks last night. They didn't play a single game. Went from 11th to 8th in the West last night.
Right where we want to be.
Moving right on up.
In the playoffs.
Even without having played a game. And also coming from Mark Stein as well, which we'll touch on a little bit later on for him as he joins the program. Anthony Davis is anticipated to make his debut on Saturday at home against the Houston Rockets. Anthony Davis going through a workout today. Was questionable going into tonight's game against the Boston Celtics, but has been ruled out. He is anticipated to make his debut, according to Mark Stein, on Saturday afternoon when the Mavericks host the Houston Rockets at the conclusion of their 5-game road trip, which is tonight.
The Pistons have more than 15 players. In fact, if Dennis Schroeder is on the Pistons, unless they're sending stuff out, they now have, I believe, 18 players. Or am I miscounting? Because they just traded they just got Josh Richardson and somebody else. They have way too many players, and also the Hawks have too many players as well. So something is going to happen with either between those two teams or involving those two teams or whatever. There's way too many guys on two teams, and that's against the rules.
It sounds like it could be against the rules. Yes. Make sure, by the way, you're commenting, and subscribing while you're here on our DLLS Mavs trade special. Again, our pregame show will be at 6 p.m. as we are 12 minutes away from the NBA trade deadline ending. Some of the moves that have already happened, obviously, there's been plenty of coverage, obviously, on Luka Doncic being moved from the Mavericks to the Lakers in exchange from Anthony Davis. But the other shoe that we were waiting to drop did eventually drop last night, as Jimmy Butler has been moved on from the Miami Heat to the Golden State Warriors. On top of that, Jimmy Butler getting a big 2-year extension to go to Golden State as well, which, I mean, you can have the quibble about that, because how do you agree to extension less than 5 minutes after the trade had been done? But whatever. So Jimmy Butler now joins Draymond Green and Stephen Curry in the Golden State Warriors. I don't think the Warriors necessarily got any better after that particular trade for the 35-year-old. How did that land for you when you saw the news drop that Jimmy Butler had been moved on from Miami Heat to Golden State?
It just doesn't change my outlook of Golden State, a fading empire, an empire in decline. I don't think this really moves the needle significantly one way or the other for them. In terms of their ceiling not being that much more than a team that can make a fun run to the semifinals.
It reminds me of something that another team did recently, where you have a team that's getting a little older and you're right around the edge. You feel like you should be better, but you're sort of struggling a little bit. And so you trade a wing that is in his prime for a guy that's been an all-star before.
Like a 6'7" wing?
Yeah.
Like point wing, maybe?
Yeah, for a guy that's a hard-nosed competitor that's in his that's maybe past his prime, but
like
has
31.
been to the finals before. And
like
you're just going to try and hope that gets you over the hump. So it
yeah. What team what trade was that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
By the way, Bobby, Detroit is planning on keeping Dennis Schroeder. So he's not.
They've gotten 4 players. So Dennis Schroeder, Lindy Waters, Josh Richardson, and KJ Martin.
Who they just acquired, KJ Martin, just a couple.
And how many players did they give up?
I'm not sure how many they gave up.
None, right?
Yeah, not that I know.
Aren't those guys all coming in? I could be mistaken.
KJ Martin and Dennis Schroeder definitely coming in. Yeah, all those guys are coming in.
That's way too many. That's way too many players.
So what would happen if the NBA just abolished the roster size rules?
Everyone would just join the Lakers.
But I don't think so. Like, realistically, I don't think there's any team that it would ever make sense to have more than 20 players.
Oh, so they're
ultimately
going
players
to
want
Utah.
to play.
All right, so KJ Martin and Josh Richardson are going to Utah.
Okay.
Which I would be surprised if Josh Richardson stayed on Utah past like today, or tomorrow. All right, well, okay, so here's the deal. There's 9 minutes left before the deadline. If you're in the chat right now, let us know. What do you want the Mavs to do? Do you want the Mavs to make a move? If so, for whom or for what? We all agree they need to do something. they're also running out of time to do it, and they're running out of dance partners. So
Yeah.
what do you think the Mavs should do?
I mean, like I said, you need another guard. You need some additional ball handling and playmaking. Man, it's tough because you look at the roster with obviously Derek Lively, the second being hurt right now. Your front court is pretty much set with Daniel Gafford as your starter, PJ Washington being there. So it's not like front court help is going to be part of the equation here with the acquisition of Anthony Davis. Your guards right now, Kyrie Irving, your lead guard at this moment. Your bench is pretty thin.
A lot of Kobe White right now. I do like Kobe White. Be tough to get Kobe White though. You have to be like you're giving up 2 or 3 guys for one. It'll be tough, but he's a good player.
By the way, just to give you an idea as well, as we get just now 8 minutes away from the NBA trade deadline, our Mark Stein going through it because I love this tweet last night. The players, the big names that have been moved, obviously, Jimmy Butler to the Warriors, Andrew Wiggins to the Miami Heat, Kyle Kuzma to the Milwaukee Bucks, Chris Middleton sent to the Shadow Realm in Washington with the Wizards, De'Aaron Fox, of course, with the San Antonio Spurs, Zach LaVine gets reunited with DeMar DeRozan in Sacramento, and, of course, the 2 biggest names, of course, with Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic being traded for each other. So that just gives you kind of an idea of how incredibly busy this trade deadline has been, but also some of the names, the biggest names in the sport who have been moved over the course since, Sunday morning at 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and still there has been more to come there. Let's get to some of the comments in the chat from some folks who what they want to see what the Mavericks do.
A lot of people are. Wait, hang on, Reggie. You go ahead. I'm mixing up names here.
Oh, okay.
You go ahead.
I thought I had seen one that it just went away, but it's okay. We'll get to it. Yeah, go up a little bit. Cam Johnson. There was one that said something about Cam Johnson, I believe. We'll see that in a second.
I do like Cam Johnson.
Cam Johnson would be one of them.
Kind of Mavsy. It would make sense. But you are having to give up in a Cam Johnson trade to make the money work. You're having to give up probably Gafford, Najee, and Hardy, and at least 1 pick, maybe 2. That's tough because then you're bigless. You got no bigs. So that's a tough one. I do like Kobe White. Somebody else said,
there we go. Go back up just a little bit. Yeah, right there, Tim. Najee and Hardy for Kobe White. Trade idea. Kobe White or Trey Jones.
Is Kobe White really that?
Oscar suggests Colin Sexton or Kobe White.
Surely he has slightly more value than that? What's the latest reporting on that?
I have no idea. Dude, does anyone have value? What is value even?
I mean,
well, shout out to Lonzo Ball. He got a 2-year, $20 million deal from Chicago.
Seems like
Good for
no
him.
Bulls player has any value with the way that like LaVine got moved for almost nothing, and like they traded Caruso for nothing. Not like these players should have more value, and they keep trading like really good players for no draft compensation, virtually.
Yes, Cam Johnson, Sharp for Gafford, Najee, and 2 first-round picks coming from Skylar Schaefer. So there you go.
I mean, I guess. I don't know.
The Wizards
I don't think they get you any closer to winning.
The Wizards have announced that they've waived Reggie Jackson. So Reggie Jackson will no longer be a part of the Washington Wizards there. I'm sure Chris Middleton's like, what about me? But apparently they're going to stick and hang on to him. We are 5 minutes away from the NBA trade deadline.
Marcus Smart, you want me to read one out? Shams reports the Grizzlies are trading Smart and a 2020 first-round pick. We're waiting on stuff. We're waiting on stuff here.
Damn, to the Wizards?
No, maybe this is just roster flexibility.
To the Wizards?
The Memphis Grizzlies
deal that sends 2 second-round picks to Memphis.
Yeah,
man, that's
to recap that. Yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies are trading
tough,
Marcus Smart and a 2025 first-round pick to the Washington Wizards in a multi-team trade that sends 2 second-round picks to Memphis. Sources tell Sharani.
Nothing coming back.
Memphis creates roster flexibility.
Wizards don't have that much cap space. There's got to be something.
So Bob Myers,
we've got to have another deal coming, and this is just order of operations.
Bob Myers moments ago has stated that the Memphis Grizzlies had called Phoenix on Kevin Durant to inquire about
that
moving for him. So just to add a little additional context to
possibly be what this is
to some of that. But yes,
No, if Phoenix is trading KD, they're not letting Marcus Smart not come back.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is wow.
Send your good stuff to the Wizards. We'll take what's left.
Clippers traded Kevin Porter Jr. to the Bucks for Marjon Beauchamp. So nothing move, and Kevin Porter shouldn't be in the NBA. But
so that's an interesting move for Memphis. Man, Flower Mound's own Marcus Smart. That's right, Oscar. Dallas native Marcus Smart.
Louisville native Marcus Smart.
Yeah, going to Washington.
Stand up.
So he's going to join Chris Middleton out there in Washington with the.
And Marcus has one more year left on his deal after this one, so he could be a buyout guy.
Buyout candidate.
But dude, for the Wizards or the Grizzlies, sorry, didn't they give up a lot to get Marcus Smart
when he was acquired from Boston?
Didn't they? And then they had to trade him and a pick.
They traded like 2 firsts.
I think they traded 2 firsts.
I believe so.
As we are less than 3 minutes away from the end of the NBA trade deadline, we will see if the Mavericks have anything coming in at the very last moment. But as of right now, it does not appear and feel that way based off of where we are currently. But the latest trade being Marcus Smart being traded to the Washington Wizards for some flexibility for Memphis's.
Running out of time here if you want the Mavs to do anything to improve their chances of even making the playoffs. I mean, again, they have to make money disappear. Like, you have to do something.
Yeah. You
have to literally do something. You know, stick guy with the thing, poking the thing. Like, do something.
Yes.
You have to. You have to.
Brian Windhorst says Cavaliers and Rockets are buyout locations for Ben Simmons.
There's no way that he's going to go to the Cavs, dude. They just traded for DeAndre. They have so many bigs. There's no way. Rockets kind of makes sense. Rockets kind of makes sense. I don't know. I guess
Kings are getting LaRavia from Memphis. Dude, I'm just telling you, this feels like they're unloading for something that's about to happen.
I mean, if they trade for KD, that'd
like
be pretty
I said,
epic,
Bob Myers moments ago had said that the Memphis Grizzlies had inquired and called the Suns about Kevin Durant.
It would just be really, really bizarre if, I mean, Marcus Smart is not the All-NBA defender that he once was or anything, but like,
KD,
wouldn't Phoenix want players?
I mean,
wouldn't they want something back for? I mean, Memphis has all the picks, but wouldn't they want something
after missing out on Jimmy Butler? I mean,
you need guys.
what is their real vision at this point?
They're going to get like Santi Aldama back and call it a day.
Sham says KD is staying put. Apparently on a stream somewhere. He didn't tweet that, but
our guys in PHNX also said the Suns were done.
Okay. We are 30 seconds away.
I don't get what Memphis was doing this whole time.
From the end of the NBA trade deadline, we got a super chat. Let's go ahead and get to while we are counting down the seconds here. Shout out to the fasting chef.
Shout out
with the $4.99 super chat. Gentlemen, the AD disrespect is comical. Will your disdain wane when the Mavericks are in the finals again? First
of all, no disdain here.
And first of all, there's no guarantee of the Mavericks getting to the NBA finals. Number 2, there is no disrespect when it comes to a literal 10-time All-Star, an All-Star game MVP, a multi-time All-NBA player, All-NBA defensive. Like, there's no slander when it comes to Anthony Davis. Like, y'all got to relax. Like, I was trying to keep it cool, but y'all been in my mentions about this too. Anthony Davis is a hell of a basketball player. Nobody's saying that the cat is chopped liver. What we're saying is no one hardly on this planet, Nico Harrison, would make that deal to trade Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic. There may be 2, maybe 1 player that you trade for Luka Doncic. No disrespect to Anthony Davis. He is a hell of a basketball player and would be terrific here. He's a all-NBA defensive talent. Y'all got to chill.
But thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the super chat.
I think
but y'all got to relax.
It's important though. Like yesterday, we had that conversation with Jesse, and I know a lot of fans were getting fired up about Jesse's opinion about. Jesse was saying, "Boo Nico, don't boo AD. This wasn't AD's idea. We should cheer for AD. We should support AD. We should wrap our arms around AD and be mad at the front office if you want to be mad at anybody." And a lot of people in the chat were saying, "Jesse, no, you're wrong. Like." Booing because AD is Nico's guy, booing AD is also booing Nico. Like, this is Nico's idea. This is Nico's team. It's not my team anymore. It's his team.
You're taking my dad's idea?
I mean, Jesse literally said that. And you said, yeah.
He did.
Yeah.
My dad's been texting me about the show.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
By the way, we have come to the end of the NBA trade deadline. We are officially past 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon, with the NBA trade deadline ending at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I've seen stuff sneak in as late as 2:03, 3:03 Eastern Time. I'm not expecting that today.
Well, we just got one. The Indiana Pacers are trading James Wiseman to the Toronto Raptors. Sources tell Shams Charania. So
I would say we still have 90 seconds before I feel like the Mavericks are officially done, because whatever move they would be making is so small that it could slip through for maybe.
It'd just
we're
be
down
really
to
weird
70
if they were,
seconds. We're down to 70
again,
seconds.
you're stuck with this team. You're literally stuck with this team.
But yeah, that's the latest.
You cannot do anything.
You could wave.
That doesn't save you money.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
never
it
mind.
doesn't save you money.
You're stuck with 14 players the rest of the year. You can't even sign a guy to a 10-day contract. Like literally nothing. Very, very, very weird. This is. I did not expect this. Is what I can say.
But as I mentioned just a second ago, yeah, the Indiana Pacers trading James Wiseman in cash to the Toronto Raptors. Want to make sure to clean that up. James Wiseman in cash to the Toronto Raptors, according to Shams Charania of ESPN. So with the NBA trade deadline having come to an end, we are waiting to see if there are anything that comes in that may have been started, but still waiting to become official that could be reported in the matter of moments here. But it does not appear as of right now that is necessarily the case. We'll be joined, though, by our national NBA insider, Mark Stein, coming up here in about 12 minutes as well from Cozy with the 50.
I believe that is Filipino pesos if I get my currency correct.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Cozy.
I named my dog Luca, and this is what the Mavs do. Yeah.
There are people. What I can say is that there are a lot of people that have named pets Luca. There are a lot of people that have named their children Luca. One of my best friends, I was best man at his wedding. He and his wife had a son. He and his wife had a son in 2020, and her family is Italian, and they named their son Luca, not because of Luca, but Luca, Luca. And I was, of course, making the joke like, haha, his name is Luca. And then they had another son in 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in 2022, they had another son in May 22 as the Mavs are going to the conference finals. And they named that son Nico.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
And neither of them knew at the time that the GM of the Mavs was named Nico Harrison. And so I had a pretty good time with them about that. But
okay.
Yeah, I do, for their own safety, their son Nico is not named after Nico Harrison, so leave my friends alone.
We are now 4 minutes past the NBA trade deadline. Bobby Marks of ESPN reporting that Ben Simmons is a name to watch out on the buyout market. According to Brian Windhorst, Cleveland and Houston are teams to watch when it comes to Ben Simmons potentially in the buyout market there. So as we are now approaching 5 minutes past the NBA trade deadline, it appears that the Mavericks have not done anything else as far as a move is concerned there. It does not feel like anything else is percolating on that front as well. So as Bobby mentioned, it looks like and appears will be the roster for this team going forward, with questions about whether or not Caleb Martin, who's dealing with a hip injury, what his timetable to return looks like. Obviously for Derek Lively II as well, who's dealing with the ankle fracture for him. Dwight Powell remains injured as well. Anthony Davis reportedly is going to be making his debut on Saturday for the Mavericks against the Houston Rockets as well. So as we start to kind of look ahead, then we have the game tonight as the Mavericks take on the Boston Celtics. How does that land for you, gentlemen, that right now it appears the Mavericks did not make a move at the NBA trade deadline, given the seismic shift that this team has gone under?
Can I pop in with one thing real quick? Texting with people, my understanding is Dallas should be able to sign someone last 2 weeks of the regular season.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Yeah.
And as long as the player is waived by March 1st, they would be eligible for the postseason.
Okay, so as long as that player is not in demand, they can just sign the guy when they're battling for 10th.
I'm not disagreeing with that analysis,
that's great.
but I do want to make clear the situation.
Okay. No, that's awesome.
So even with that statement there, it's even more clarity on the idea that this is the roster that you've got now for the rest of the regular season.
What I would add to the analysis, what makes this very frustrating from an analysis perspective of what Dallas is doing, I think most players you got on the buyout market would be helping you right now for the regular season, where you don't need to be playing a player like Kyrie 40-plus minutes every night. The idea would be like once you get to the postseason and Kyrie is taking up most of those minutes, that would help. But right now, like they're facing an uphill battle just to get like to the top 6 to get out of the play-in tournament, and bodies for the remaining 26 plus 4, but realistic 26 games after the All-Star break. That's theoretically what you'd be looking for. And
how about when they play Philly again? If Daniel Gafford is sitting on the bench, you're not guarding Joel Embiid with Kessler Edwards. Like, how about that? It's not just bodies. It's like your roster is incomplete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your starting center is out maybe for the rest of the year. Your third string center is out for who knows how long. Right now, your backup center is a two-way guy that Jason Kidd was very visibly not excited about having on the team whenever he was talking about him for the first time. Your starting point guard is on the other side of 30 and has a history of injury concerns. And is
currently dealing with a bulging disc in his back right now.
And he's playing more minutes now than he ever has in his career outside of the playoffs. His backup is Spencer Dinwiddie, who gave a really nice quote today, and actually I like Spencer Dinwiddie now because of that, but he's still not a very good player. He's on the minimum. Your other point guard is Dante Exum, who's played like 2 games all year, airballed a 3 and turned it over to win the game just in the last game. Jaden Hardy is – I don't even know if J. Kidd remembers that he's on the team, and I don't know if Jaden Hardy knows how to dribble
He didn't even play against the Sixers the other night.
Yeah, like you don't have a team. This team is so incomplete. This team is so overly dependent right now on 31-year-old Kyrie Irving and however
with
old
back problems.
Yes, and however old Anthony Davis is.
Klay Thompson's about to be 35 here very shortly.
And Klay goes like entire quarters without even touching the ball. So it's like, is he even on the team? Like, this is such an incomplete team. What is the vision? What is the plan? What is the starting lineup? Outside of more minutes for Max Christie, Christie Nation, rise up.
Shout out to you, Max Christie.
Outside of Max Christie, what the hell are they doing? Like, what is the idea? I mean, what is the plan? How are you making the playoffs right now?
Yeah,
if they lose tonight at Boston, they're going to lose tonight. AD's not going to play, according to Stein.
They're going to be.
They will be 500.
Yeah.
AD is going to make his debut, so his first game with the team without a practice in front of 20,000 booing fans against the second best team in the West right now. If you lose that game, you're below 500. Yesterday, they were 11th place. You have to be top 8 to not have your season come down to 1 game. You have to be top 6 to not have your season come down to 2 games. Are they even going to get there?
Oh, boy.
And if it does, who's going to be available? I guess they can sit around and hope nobody signs Ben Simmons. I hope Ben Simmons wants to be unemployed until like April 1st. Maybe Marcus Smart will be there too. Maybe no one will sign Marcus Smart. Maybe no one will sign any good player. You know what? No one would sign Josh Richardson. So maybe the Mavs can go sign Josh Richardson
Bring him
on
back.
March 31st and save their season. We did it, guys. That is awesome. Like
another stint for Josh Richardson.
Dude, you're trying to sell a fan base that this team has a chance. Like Nico said, when we win, they will forgive us. When we win, defense wins championships. You can't win a championship if you don't make the playoffs. And right now, as it is, I am not sure that this is even one of the 10 best teams in their own conference.
Meanwhile, the Los Angeles Lakers last night used a 2031 first-round pick and whatever else to go get Mark Williams for. And look, don't jump in my mentions either. Something about Mark Williams got cooked by AD a couple of weeks ago. I almost cussed. I don't care. Like, Luka Doncic is on that team now. That team is a contending team with Luka Doncic on it. So miss me with the idea that this team is not a contending team right now.
I do have a few concerns about Mark Williams as a defensive player.
I mean,
I get his age,
that's
and
cool.
his size. Like,
you know who we had concerns about?
Baseline.
You know we had concerns about as a defensive player, and he took him to the Western Conference Finals. Dwight Powell. So if Luka can take Dwight
Daniel
Powell,
Gafford was the starting center on the finals team.
Like, miss me with the idea that Mark Williams is not going to be helping this Lakers team not contend for a title. I've seen Luka take much less to deeper heights and playoff runs.
I mean, like, okay, who's better right now, the Mavs or the Lakers?
I do very much think it's the Mavericks.
Better than the Lakers right now?
Yeah. fully healthy.
Oh,
Yes. I'm not super high on Dallas, but I think they're a top 4 or 5 team in the West. They were a top 2 team in the West before they made this trade. They did not get worse than a top 3 team in the West.
In the West right now?
No, they're a top 2 team. Yeah.
I disagree. I'm way more homerific than you, but I disagree.
I don't think that they're set up well for playoff success, but I think
I don't think they're set up well for regular. I think that's the thing. I disagree. I think they're set up for playoff success, not for regular season success. This team is not built for the regular season, which would be fine if they were 10 games above 500. They're going to be below 500 in 72 hours.
I kind of meant the same thing as you. I worded. I think any given night that this team is like top 3 in the Western Conference, the problem is that you have to play all these regular season games to get to the postseason.
Yeah.
I don't think that playing like they're going to have to play in the regular season is setting them up for postseason success. I still think they're very, very talented. I agree that it just doesn't make sense. The most concerning thing to me is the offense is going to be a concern. I really, really don't like the Kyrie, Clay, PJ starting backcourt.
Dusty.
Like that's really rough.
I mean,
that's really rough right there.
And you guys are talking about the on-court stuff in terms of basketball fit. I'm concerned about these cats' bodies holding up for the rest of the year. We just finished talking about how Kyrie Irving is playing with a bulging disc in his back. Anthony Davis is going to be making a return from abdomen injury on Saturday. The questions about how this team's health can hold up for the rest of the now 31 games starting, tonight and moving forward is a big question for this team. And even with those guys, let's say you get the optimum health, the guy that defensively can help you out, because one of the reasons why Anthony Davis would theoretically fit here is because he wants to play 4 alongside a center like Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively. I feel like Derek Lively gives you the better chance at the center spot when he's starting. So you're not even going to have that guy around for what appears to be the rest of the regular season. So there's just a lot, as Bobby used the word, incomplete when it comes to this team, even with the other questions that this team is going to be facing. But
there's a lot of even the smaller things. Like the Mavs don't want Daniel Gafford to have to play longer than 4 to 6 minutes at a time.
Sure,
he's gonna have to do that, not just every time, not just twice a game, every single shift on the floor. He's gonna have to play 8 minutes straight.
Because he can't play the
10
4
minutes straight.
He cannot play the 4 at all. So he's going to be playing center minutes the entire time.
And there's no Maxey anymore. He doesn't go here.
Anthony Davis is going to play a lot of center.
So then who's going to play power forward?
Who's going to play power forward?
He doesn't. Not Anthony Davis. He doesn't want to play center. But if he is going to play center, then I guess it's PJ, which means it would be great if you had Martin, for example. But the Mavs just got tipped a second-round pick 5 years from now because his injury is worse than they thought it was.
Correct.
So he's not going to be around anytime soon. PJ just had a baby. When is he going to be back? I'd hope he takes his time. Spend time with your family, dude. But Najee Marshall keeps getting sick. All of the players that would play power forward, they're not around. It's just very, very, very strange. It's really strange.
This would look a little better if Martin was going to be cleared and healthy on Monday.
Which that appears is.
Which logically, that's why they made the trade, because some of the stuff would look a little bit better, where it would be every minute, all 96 minutes at the 4 and the 5 would be taken up by Davis. So it'd be Gafford with his as many minutes as you want to play him, and Davis is going to be taking all the backup center minutes behind him, and then you can still keep him kind of to a shift. Now that leaves a good amount of minutes that you have to fill at the at the 4, but PJ takes that. He's the backup 4 for whenever Anthony Davis slides over to the backup 5, just because he's starting at the 4. But yes, you need Martin then to cover any minutes at the 3 that PJ's giving up. It's tricky. It is tricky. This is not a clean fitting roster.
No, it is not. A piece of Thunder news coming in real quick from Joe Lorenzi, who covers the Thunder for the Oklahoman. They have waived Daniel Tice, have the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Ian Begley just reported the Mavs were very aggressive in exploring pathways to acquire Kevin Durant. Now, I believe that, actually. And I believe that they're...
What did I say earlier, Tanner? What did I said earlier?
If I peer
trade calls.
If I peer deep into my crystal ball, Who cares? I'll put in the call. Nothing is on the line here. KD will be a Mav next season. But in order for them to get KD right now, they would, and it'll probably be the same guys they're going to have to trade this summer. So just prepare yourself for this. They would have to give, at the minimum, they would have to trade Gafford, Clay, PJ, Omax, Hardy. Instead of Omax, you could give Dante Exum. Instead of Hardy, you could give Omax and Exum. 2 of those 3 guys. Probably in addition to at least 2 first-round picks, if not all 3. Probably the pick that they just got from Philly. You're having to empty it all. Or you can give Lively and probably save yourself 1 or 2 of those first-round picks.
Yes.
So if they were to have traded for KD right now, they would have had to do an incredible amount of maneuvering just to even fill out a roster. So I think for the rest of the season, it's probably objectively good that they didn't make that trade because they would have had a roster full of minimum players.
It would have been the Suns all over again.
Yeah, now I guess you could, in theory, if you wait until the summer because you can reaggregate those guys, you could trade like Najee plus Martin plus Max Christie instead of PJ or something. Like there's ways that you can make the pieces work. But I just want to prepare yourselves, Mavs fans, prepare yourself for when the Mavs trade probably all 3 picks, all your favorite players, including maybe Derek Lively for KD in like 5 months.
Is Mark ready to go? No. Okay.
And when Mark comes on, please, Mark, tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong, Mark. Okay. But like based on what Mark said the other night, we asked him on the post game whenever they played Philly, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
We just said, hey, what's the deal? They were reportedly in on KD. And Mark was like, I think they would love him. Who wouldn't? But it's going to be really tough because they'd have to trade like the whole squad.
Yeah.
And so in the summer, it's much easier to do that. You don't have to actually play games in the midst of making all these moves. You can just do it all on paper and figure it out later. So it would not surprise me at all if they revisit it and ultimately if they do it this summer.
Matthew Hooks with the $2 super chat. Nico is a fraud. Fire him. He tanked us on purpose. Appreciate your sentiments. Let's go to Hassip with the $2 super chat. A week ago, all we needed was a backup 4. WTF.
I remember those days.
Same.
Tim and I, what do the Mavs need to do? They just need to get a versatile forward, just like a combo big, and then they're pretty complete. Just sign Ben Simmons on the buyout market and check ball. We're good.
And I really liked the idea of this team with Ben Simmons.
Me too.
That team.
Not this team.
That team.
That team with Ben Simmons.
Bags with the $4.99 super chat. Feels like we're going to tank our pick this year to try and trade it plus assets this summer for Kevin Durant.
I suppose it's possible, but I mean, I don't think they're going to make that call right now. Obviously, you're going to try and win. Nico very clearly believes that AD, I mean, he literally said himself, AD gets them closer to winning a championship than Luka. So, like, they're going to try and win the title. The issue, though, is, like, AD is one misstep away from missing the season. Kyrie is one fall away from missing the season. So maybe that'll take care of itself. The one good thing, though, is because not good thing, but if you're trying to get a better pick, if in the West you fall out of the top 10, you're guaranteed at least a top 12 pick, if not better. You can climb up, if you vault into the lottery. So it's certainly possible. But
I guess what really, and this is just, I mean, the trade is, blown to hell anyway. But if we are to, believe the idea that, Nico Harrison has been wanting to trade Luka Doncic for however long, part of me wishes, and I don't know how y'all feel about it, but part of me wishes if that was the case, then blow the season up to begin with. Like, trade him away, blow the team up, go tank and go capture the flag and start over. But clearly he didn't feel that way. He felt like Anthony Davis gives him the best chance to win. But the direction and where it feels like it's going, it just feels like there is no necessary direction, even with Nico thinking that Anthony Davis gets him that closer to a championship. It just feels very haphazard, even though I'm sure it's very calculated and very planned out in his own mind.
No, Ronald, we appreciate the super chat. We can't show it, but Ronald said, die hard, Ronald. I believe Ronald's a diehard, right?
I believe so.
Nico is trying hard to make me not an MFFL anymore, and it's slowly but surely working. I want Nico gone so effing bad. I think that's the prevailing sentiment. That a lot of fans feel is, I want to support this team, but they're making it really dang hard to right now. What I can say though, and this is after experiencing a lot of a lot of failures along the way, because in sports you're gonna lose a lot more than you're gonna win. Different eras of the Mavs in my life, in my career. If you take out the thing that you wish was gone, it doesn't necessarily get filled with happiness and joy. I think the pain that a lot of Mavs fans feel about Luka right now will never be repaired, whether Nico's here or not. I think Nico becomes the avatar of that, and so if he's not the GM anymore, maybe you'll feel a little better. But the reality is, Luka's never coming back anyway, and the Mavs are gonna have to pick up the pieces one day whenever this thing, falls apart, as everything does. Even dynasties crumble, So 5-10 years from now, we'll still be getting over it.
We'll get to our next couple super chats here in just a little bit. Right now, let's bring in our national NBA insider, Mark Stein. You can always dial up the Stein line at the Stein line as we continue here on our NBA trade deadline special. The Mavericks not making a move at the trade deadline after, of course, their biggest trade of the NBA trade deadline season, moving on from Luka Doncic and acquiring Anthony
He's good.
Davis.
He's audio only, so we should be good.
All right. Mark, appreciate you taking the time to join us. It's been a very busy day for you, obviously.
I'm really sad, Mark.
Your reactions to what has been really an unprecedented trade deadline that has now come to an end as of nearly 23 minutes ago.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's a trade deadline I'll ever forget. It is. I started my first. You guys got me okay?
Yep. Yeah, we got you.
Good. Sorry, we're doing it this way, but I'm monitoring 4 screens at once, so it just helps me. It just helps me stay locked into everything. So I appreciate it. I started in the middle of the 93-94 season. I started my beat writing career 10 days before the deadline. So this is my 32nd trade deadline. I think I would say that, I would never forget this no matter what after the Luka trade. The Luka trade on its own was that seismic, but just what we have seen since. I mean, this is going to end up being 20-something deals and just the magnitude of players that were moved. And I think a big reason for it is, I think we've talked about this some before, but it's just the reality now that teams, marquee players don't make it to free agency. They sign contracts, they sign extensions at the earliest opportunity, and then they get traded or force trades. And obviously in Luka's case, it was 100% a get traded. He was doing nothing of the sort in terms of trying to force a trade. But obviously Jimmy Butler was trying to move, and we just saw, we've seen so much action, so many stars. And yeah, that's just the general view of it is that, yeah, I just since the Luka trade it burst onto the scene after midnight Eastern on Sunday, and just since then, absolute whirlwind.
Mark, they obviously followed it up with the trade for Caleb Martin, but it really felt like, because not only do they have an open roster spot, but they really need a shot creator, and their starting center is hurt, and their third string center is hurt. It really felt like we all expected the Mavs to make another move, and it felt like they were trying to make another move. Whether the KD stuff was ever close or realistic to happening or not, that was reported, but that doesn't really answer either of those needs. So I'm sure that they were exploring all sorts of opportunities, but they came away doing nothing. Were you surprised, or are you surprised that they weren't able to pull anything else off? Were they even trying to pull anything else off? What is kind of your reasoning or your understanding of what happened and didn't happen
and
today?
even something as small as why they didn't trade just one player for potentially having enough cap space for the buyout market, big or small. I'm very curious how they did nothing.
Yeah, no, look, I think they definitely tried. I think they're always on the lookout, and they absolutely needed to shed some more salary to be able to get into the buyout market. So the deadline just ended, and literally we're still getting details on trades that happened close to the 2 p.m. Central buzzer. So the post-mortem on why they were not able to shed salary and give themselves a chance to go into the buyout market, I'm frankly going to need more time to report on that because there just literally has been no time since the deadline buzzer sounded to assess that. But look, I mean, it's been a pretty newsy day on the Mavs front, even without a trade. I'm sure you guys saw my reports. By all indications, Anthony Davis is not going to make his debut tonight. I'm told that it's far likelier and will probably be formalized and announced here this afternoon before tip-off that his debut will wait until Saturday's matinee home game against Houston. So they're going to play tonight without Anthony Davis against the defending champs. But in truth, if we want to get technical here, there was trade business today because the Caleb Martin deal was not actually finalized until today. The story was brought to my attention earlier today that Caleb Martin has missed. He's been out since I think January 10th with a hip injury. The injury, there were some concerns raised about it during the physical, and so the teams had to discuss it with the league office. There were a multitude of options. The option that was settled on was that Caleb Martin would stay in Dallas. He remains a Mav. Quentin Grimes stays with his new team in Philadelphia, but the Sixers have added a second-round pick to the deal. So before the deal was Grimes and a 2025 second-rounder that actually belonged to Philly, had been traded multiple times, made its way to Dallas. The Mavericks gave the Sixers back that second-rounder in this June's draft, but now Philly has been required to put a second-rounder into the trade to send to Dallas. So it's not yet clear how soon we'll see Caleb Martin on the floor. But look, what Tim's talking about is a significant issue because if the Mavericks had the money to be a buyout team, chances are they would have been able to attract, they would have been in the running for anyone significant on the buyout market. I think obviously the Mavericks are still regarded, even after the Luka trade, as a team that's trying to win a championship. And those teams typically get the attention of players that reach the buyout market. But I also would add, Dennis Schroeder is a player who I'm sure I know for a fact the Mavericks would have had interest in pursuing on the buyout market. And there was a league-wide assumption that Dennis Schroeder would make it to the buyout market. But the Detroit Pistons wanted Schroeder badly. The Jimmy Butler trade has now been expanded to include putting Schroeder with the Pistons, and the Pistons are keeping Dennis Schroeder. So Schroeder won't even make it to the buyout market. It's, again, the deadline is over. We're a half hour past it, but there is still so much happening at this time, which is another reason why I asked the one and only Tanner, could we set this up where I could just join you guys by audio and keep looking at all my screens and maintain contact with people? Because even in the first hour after the deadline, so many finer points are learned. But I promise that by tonight, when we're all finally reunited, I think tonight we're all finally reunited. Hopefully by then I will have a better picture on what the Mavs tried to get done today.
So as we finish up before we let you go here, the question I would have would be what now and what next with this team? Pretty much it appears as of the moment going to be as constructed as they are going forward. In your mind, how does now this team move forward with what they have to try to make this run that they believe that they can make?
Yeah, look, I'm going to, I want to do more reporting to see if there is any possibility to make any other moves. I mean, it would appear so not, but I want to make sure that that's completely off the table before I rule it out because, as I've told you guys before, I always want to check with true cap experts. But look, I mean, the reality
Stein,
is,
I heard last two weeks or so of the regular season, what very limited money they have potentially for anybody who's bought out. But again, that's like a ways away and not something that really makes them competitive in the buyout market. So let me know if that's also what you end up hearing tonight when we're together.
well, and that's the thing. Like realistically, I mean, a buyout player, it's very rare that a buyout player can make a major difference anyway. I mean, look, if they could have added Dennis Schroeder to the mix, I think you could make the case that Dennis Schroeder would be someone who could give them that, an extra source of shot creation that would make a difference. He was fantastic earlier this season in Brooklyn, and he just really didn't fit into Golden State's style of play, and it just didn't work there. But, so the main thing, it's obvious. I mean, they need, Anthony Davis has been dealing with an abdominal muscle injury. They need him back, and they need him to be great, not just good, great. I mean, he has to be sensational for this team, because, I mean, the only way that the Mavericks can change the discussion, the noise, the justified heartbreak, the outright anger that we're seeing, they have to win, and win handsomely, not just win. I mean, this team has to win a championship in the near future. So they have to get Anthony Davis on the floor, integrated, forming a significant partnership, a successful partnership with Kyrie Irving. And look, maybe, realistically, significant adds to the roster as is, probably we're always going to have to wait until the offseason. And now we basically have our confirmation that that's the case, because nothing else significant happened today. But, I mean, they got to get this team healthy. That's another thing. I mean, it's been one injury after another with this team. And I was trying to think about it today. Like, when was the last time we saw a full strength Mavs? I mean, was Christmas? Were they even full strength then? I can't remember who else was out at the time. It's quite, sorry, I was getting a text and I got distracted. We'll see. We'll see if there's any optionality to make any roster changes. But I would truly tell you guys, I mean, I think what they really need above all is health. I mean, to get the best players on this roster on the floor consistently, which is constantly eluded them.
Mark, we appreciate the time. As always, we will talk to you later on tonight after the Mavericks take on the Celtics during our post-game show. We'll talk to you then. Appreciate the time.
Good to be reunited, guys. See you tonight.
Bye, Mark.
That's our National NBA Insider, Mark Stein. You can dial up the Stein line at the Stein line. As we finish up the last few minutes here on our DLLS Mavs.
Can I react to one thing he said?
Sure.
He said the one thing that they need is health. So it makes sense then that they traded for Anthony Davis, and that they traded for a guy that they had to get an extra pick for because he's hurt. I'm not saying that what Mark said is bad. I'm saying that I agree with Mark, and I don't think the Mavs see it that way.
It's a hell of a way to put it. I mean, it's just the fact. That's the fact.
Give us your hurt guys. Why don't they go get Marcus Smart? He's hurt right now. Why don't they go trade for him? At least trade for a good hurt player. Like,
they smoked another. They gave back a pick to trade for a dude who's got a hip that might not play for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but at least the Sixers,
gosh.
At least the Sixers still get to keep the player and the pick that the Mavs gave them. Whenever they were maybe concealing the severity of an injury in trade discussions. So instead of the Mavs just getting the pick back, they got a pick 5 years from now.
Andrew with the $1.99 super chat. Like, the more you wrap your mind around it, I can't cuss, but my gosh, the ish don't make sense.
I think what we're learning, KG.
I thought you said, "Oh, I think we can cuss." That's what I'm really hoping where that's going.
What we're learning, KG, is that it's really, really easy to keep stuff secret from Nico Harrison.
Oh my gosh, man!
It's really easy to keep a secret. Daryl Morey did it. Rob Pelinka did it all in the same week. You can keep all sorts of secrets from that guy. He's just a really trustworthy guy. He's really trusting. If you tell him something, he's going to believe it. The Sixers concealed the injury issues with a guy, and the Lakers. If I can't talk to Bill Duffy, I don't want to give up another pick. You expect me to believe that Luka's going to want to re-sign in LA? Do you think Luka wants it? I think Luka seems more like a mountain guy than a beach guy. Luka, the guy that spends all his time in the offseason on a boat, I don't think he's going to want to spend any time in LA. That's just really weird. I think if they do they have a team in Omaha? He's going to go sign in Omaha.
Oh my!
He's going to go sign in like Vermont. You know, I don't think Luka
the
wants to be in LA.
Minneapolis Lakers. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. See, that would be good. But there are lakes in Minnesota, though. So no, it's like Montana. You know, let's get Luka in New Mexico. No, yeah.
He might like Taos. I could see that. You know.
Yeah, it's just it's the Mavs are the mark now. The Mavs are the mark.
And there it is.
You don't ever want to be the mark, but the Mavs are the mark.
The mark, like they are the mark. Because my man, I'll get to the super chat in a second. My man literally got on the phone with Rob Pelinka. It was like, hey man, we want reportedly we want that Dalton Connect dude and the other one of them first round picks that you got. Rob's like, hey, how about this actually? How about you give me Luka and instead I keep one of my first round picks and I keep Dalton Connect too. How we feel about that? You know what, Rob? You my homeboy. You know what? You're right. Let's go ahead and make that deal. Like what? What?
But like Nico, think of what the fans would say if they found out about this. If you make the trade, the fans won't find out about it at all. But if you tell them about, then they're going to get mad if they find out about the trade.
Okay, what's funny is so same Luka trade happens, except the Lakers send Dallas Mark Williams.
Ooh.
Does your anger change? No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Does the situation get better?
No, but it sure would be nice to have 4 first-round picks to trade right now.
Yeah.
As you're trying to replace the Hall of Famer that you just traded away for no reason. It would make everything a whole lot easier. I would argue that having an extra first-round pick would make it even easier to trade for another aging superstar so that you could further shorten your title window of contention. Like, it would make it easier. So, like, if you do want to win a championship before taking another job, which Tim reportedly thinks that, Nico's already, Nico's not going to be around. Why not make it easier to get old?
Well, for the record, I don't think that.
Well, Tim reports it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Tim is reporting that people believe it, that it is believed by some.
And then potentially this summer, you're going to smoke away the rest of your roster for a 36, what will be at some point during next year, a 37-year-old Kevin Durant.
Though, KG. He is Kevin Durant.
You really want me to cuss on this show today?
He's Kevin Durant.
You really want me to cuss?
Well,
on
I'm
this
just
show.
saying, you could be starting if that happens. The opening night starting lineup could be a 37-year-old, a 36-year-old, a 33-year-old, a 32-year-old, and a 21-year-old. What do you think Derek Lively is gonna talk to those guys about in the locker room? They're all starting to look at their their retirement plans. They're starting to get AARP pamphlets in the mailbox, and Derek Lively's just out here like, man, I think I grew another inch last night.
They're gonna I think I'm taller. They're gonna take Derek Lively to Luby's.
He's like, no, Chuck E. Cheese, please.
Put up that super chat before I get to cussing on this show and lose my job. I'm trying not to. Andrew Pacina, the $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Appreciate it. Seems like we are on one man's timeline. Disgusted. Yep. When we're just along for the ride, it feels like at this point.
Think so.
Shout out to Ardell. Super chat Ardell with the $5.77 super chat. I won't root against the Mavs. Nico being gone is the only way to get my heart back. I'm hurt. Appreciate the sentiment, Ardell.
I hear you, Ardell. I don't think that that's going to make it feel any better. Like maybe it'll feel like justice is served or whatever, but I don't even know if that makes people feel better.
Because Luka's not coming back.
Yeah, Luka ain't coming back.
Yeah.
I guess from fans' perspective, maybe the best case scenario is that Nico is let go at the end of the year or whatever, but you're still going to have the team. It's still going to be owned by the same people. So like, the only way to really hit the reset button is if like they sell the team and fire everybody and trade everybody, and then they tank for 5 years, hoping to find someone that's almost as good as Luka once was. Like,
and the
it's
chances
not going to
of that
happen.
being...
Like, it's going to be 2050 before that happens. So we now live I'm not trying to reassure you. We live in the worst timeline. All we can do is give each other a hug and tell the people you love that you love them, because it is not getting any better anytime soon.
Shout out to LA for the $4.99 super chat. Conspiracy theory. The Mavericks are going to tank this season to sweeten the 2025 picks to trade for Durant. # Miss Luka. Now Nico has his way. He's trying to win a championship this year. He's trying to win right now because he traded away Luka Doncic, because he felt like Anthony Davis gave him a better chance to win a championship.
You wouldn't need this pick to be all that much better if you had more picks to offer, but they just traded a pretty good second rounder.
Gave back one.
Could have gotten another first rounder. Could have even got more twos.
You know what would have
got more anything.
You know what would have been a really good idea? Not trading Luka Doncic. That would have been.
I think KG that a Luka, Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Derek Lively lineup would be pretty good.
Oh, I see what you did there. It'd be amazing. Any last thoughts before we get out of here? All good?
Okay, so
Tanner, you want to cuss real quick before you get down? Okay.
Can I?
No.
we have a live watch party tonight at Cosm. The tickets are out. You can't buy any more tickets even if you want to. But for those of you if you're in the chat and you're going tonight, we'll see you there. I'm really, really excited for that. It's gonna be fun to hang out with some diehards, and I think some people are going that aren't diehards. But it'll be fun to hang out with everybody that goes to hang out with us. We are gonna have a pregame show. It's going to be pre-recorded, so we're going to record that right now. So whenever you see the pregame show live tonight...
We'll say it on there.
Yeah, we will, but it won't actually be live. But we will be live after the game for a post-game show. It'll just be a little later than normal because we're going to leave Cosm to come back to our studio. So normally we're live about 10 to 15 minutes after the final buzzer. It's going to be more like half an hour, 45 minutes after the final buzzer tonight. But we will be back for a live, in-person post-game show tonight.
Javier Ramirez, Super Chat 199. Thank you. Can we at least sign Dennis Smith Jr. or Fultz? Maybe. As far as I understand, last couple weeks, I don't know the exact date yet. Maybe the last couple weeks of the season, but we explained this a little bit earlier in the show. But basically, Dallas is so close to the first apron, and they cannot. They're so close to a figure they can't go over that they don't have the space to do it right now, even though they have a roster spot. Also, Fultz, I'm not sure he's in play. He had a real serious knee injury that he's still coming back from. Dennis Smith signed with Real Madrid, so he's out of the league. So, unfortunately, no.
ESPN's Tim McMahon.
No more moves.
Oh, I'm sorry. ESPN's Tim McMahon is reporting that Caleb Martin will return from his hip injury in 2 to 3 weeks.
Like post All-Star break.
Sources are telling him. So, and of course, as Mark Stein reported, the terms of the trade with the Sixers were amended after Martin's physical to add a 2030 second-round pick to Dallas's return for Quentin Grimes and a 2025 second-round pick. So that coming from ESPN's Tim McMahon, that the optimism is that Caleb Martin would return from the hip injury he's dealing with in 2 to 3 weeks. That'll do it for us here on the DLLS Mavs Trade Deadline Special. We sincerely appreciate all of you joining us here on our show. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to DLLS Sports, and also download to our podcast wherever you get your podcast for free as well. We will have our pregame show at 6 p.m. We will see you at Cosm tonight as well at 6:30 as the Mavericks take on the Celtics. We'll have our postgame show afterwards right here in our DLLS Sports studios. Our National NBA insider Mark Stein will be joining us here as well. For our Mavericks analyst, Bobby Curl, that's our Mavericks beat writer, Tim Cato. I'm your host, Kevin Gray. We are DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you on our pregame show at 6 p.m. right here on DLLS Sports. Y'all be good. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.